Hello, this is Steve Sanangelo once again from the SRS Rock Report, and I'm glad you're joining us today because I'm going to discuss some important factors that are taking place in the world's largest primary silver mines. There's two of them. There's the Fresnillo in Mexico and the Kennington Mine in Australia. Now, what's taking place are rapidly falling ore grades and rising costs. And as we can see here, the world's largest primary silver mine has seen its ore grade decline 72%, and that's less than 20 years. All right, I'm going to start with the Fresnillo mine. Now, Fresnillo is a company called Fresnillo LLC, and they're in Mexico. They run several silver and gold mines, but they started with their flagship Fresnillo mine. And in 2005, Fresnillo was producing 33.4 million ounces of silver. And right here, we could see it was at an average yield of 15.2 ounces per ton. Now, that's a lot of silver because today the mines aren't producing that much. It's like a quarter of that average for the whole primary mining industry. But by 2010, we could see that Fresnillo increased production to 35.9, but its average yield fell to 14.1 ounce per ton. Now, the real big change at Fresnillo took place over the next 5 years. As we could see by 2015, not only has production fallen in half to 15.6 million ounces, but its average yield has fallen from 14 ounces per ton down to 6.5. So just in that 5-year period, their average yield has fallen 57%. Fresnillo has lost 8.7 ounces per ton of yield. That's a big number. So let's take a look what's happened in the last 2 years. I've updated this chart, and as we can see, Fresnillo has stabilized their falling average yield. It's now at 6.7 for 2016, as well as 2017, and they've increased production a little bit. We could see that production is now up to 16.5 million ounces. But if we go back to 2005 and compare it to today, Fresnillo has still lost 56% of their average yield in just that 12-year period. Now, this is the largest primary silver mine in the world. It was at one time, and it's the Kennington Mine in Australia. Now, Kennington Mine was originally run by BHP Billiton, but it was sold a few years ago to a company called South 32. They're located in Australia. But when they started ramping up Kennington, it was producing about 30 million ounces of silver in 1999, and this year is their average ore grade. It's grams per ton. It was 636 grams per ton. By 2004, it had fallen to 515 grams per ton. But we could see they ramped up production. It was 44 million ounces. That's a big number. That's even a lot more than Fresnillo. So over the next 10 years, we could see a trend. The average ore grade fell to 257 grams per ton, and their production fell in half to 22.6 million ounces. Now, this is as of 2014. What's taking place at Kennington now? Okay, we could see in the last 3 years, 2015, 16, and 17, not only has production declined from 22 million ounces down to 12, that's almost less than half. The average ore grade has fallen to 257 down to 178. And if we compare that to 1999, when the Kennington Mine was producing 636 grams per ton, that is an astonishing 20.4 ounces per ton. Today, they're producing at 178 grams per ton. That's only 5.7. That's almost a 75%. It's a 72% decline in average yield since 1999. Now, I want to get back to Fresnillo because the company knew they were going to lose production from Fresnillo, so they brought on another mine called Saucito. And Saucito didn't start until 2009, but it really ramped up by 2012. And so this chart is showing the Fresnillo mine's production and yield in the light blue. And then when we add them together, the Fresnillo and Saucito mines since 2009 to 2017. So in 2008, Fresnillo was producing silver by itself at 34.8 million ounces at 15 ounces per ton. Now, both of these mines last year, 2017, produced a little bit more, 37.7 million ounces, but their average yield combined has fallen in half to 7.3 ounces per ton. Now, the important thing to understand about that is the costs. This is a chart from Fresnillo's website, and what we have is the Fresnillo is in black and the Saucito mine is in red, and this is cost per ton. In 2008, it cost Fresnillo $41.20 per ton to produce their silver. In 2016, their cost per ton increased a little bit to $43.9. And Saucito, as it ramped up production, it's decreased its cost per ton, but it was $36.8 per ton. Now, what's important is when we look at this as total cost. In 2008, Fresnillo was producing 34.8 million ounces by itself, and its total production cost, now these are costs just at the mine, and we arrive at that cost of $96 million by taking the cost per ton and multiplying it by the processed tons during that year, and it's $96 million. The interesting thing, even though the two mines now are producing 37.8 million ounces, their total costs have more than doubled. So it's taking the production of two mines to produce a little more silver than Fresnillo was by itself in 2008 at $96 million. Now these two mines, it costs $201 million. So what we can see, when ore grades fall, when yields fall, it takes more ore to produce the same silver. And we also have to consider that the increase in the oil and the energy price have tripled over the last decade. So what does this all mean? Even though Fresnillo does have gold mines, I want to show this chart. It's interesting. It's the profit for the year. It's in green, and then the cost of sales. Now, from 2005 to 2008, we could see that cost increased a little bit, but the profits remained about the same. But what happened when the price of gold and silver really fell? They were bringing on more production, but look at their costs continue to increase, but look what happened to their profits. Fresnillo was actually making more money between 2005 to 2008 when the prices were less and they were producing less. Now they brought on more production, more gold mines and more silver mines. Their costs increased, but their profits were falling. They have recovered a little bit in 2016, but I just want to show you how important it is. You could increase production, you can add on more production, but it may not mean you'll make more money. Now, this is a chart, or actually an image I got off of Google. If you put in primary silver mining industry ore grades and yields, and you look at images, this is what you're going to see. And anybody familiar with my work, these are all my charts. I've been studying the primary silver mining industry as well as the gold mining industry, because I think it's very important to understand what's taking place in the industry and its falling ore grades and yields, because it's just more expensive now to produce silver. So if you Google this information and look at the images, you're going to see mostly my charts, because I'm one of the few analysts that have been really focusing on it, because I think it's really important. Now, this last chart is from an engineer, a paper done by Gavin Mudd out of Australia. And what he did is he took a huge research paper on the different metals production in Australia from 1840 to 2008. We got copper, gold, lead, zinc, uranium, nickel, diamonds, and silver. You can see gold is in the yellow and copper is in red, but silver is shown in these little plus signs. And in 1884, when they started really producing silver in Australia, they were producing it at 3,506 grams per ton. That's an amazing 112 ounces per ton. in the late 1800s. Now, this is very similar to what happened in many countries when they started tapping into the same thing in the United States. We saw 4,000 grams per ton in the silver mines in the 1800s. But as we can see over time, this is the average yield ore grade for the Australia's silver industry, and it continued to fall. By 2008, the average silver ore grade for Australia was 98 grams per ton, which is only 3.1 ounces per ton. Now, this is including the Kennington Mine, which in 2008 had a much higher average ore grade. But again, this was almost 10 years ago. I would imagine the average ore grade for Australia is probably a lot less now. It's probably closer to the 50, 60 grams per ton, about 2 ounces per ton. So this is the last chart, and I wanted to end here because it's taking a lot more energy and the movement, a lot more ore to produce the same amount of silver. Now, what's interesting, a lot of this production in the late 1800s was done by human and animal labor. But as we brought on oil production, oil took over, especially in the 1900s, we could move a lot more ore by using machines run by diesel, run by liquid fuels. So it wasn't until we were able to tap into this oil, we were able to start mining a lot of this lower grade ore. So going forward, I think we're going to see serious trouble in the future in the primary silver mining industry when oil production falls. When global oil production falls, we're going to see a collapse of global silver production. And in my next video, I'm going to discuss what's taking place in the U.S. energy industry, kind of an update. It's getting worse, even though we're producing more shale oil than ever. We're setting up for a big fall. So I wanted to thank you for watching this video. And if you can, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And thank you very much.